advertising started as a channel world, right? So TV, radio, online, out of home, print, digital, and then where we're getting to is, but those things are very linear in one way, if you will. So they're speaking at you, not with you, right? And they don't know about your historic behavior, right? Or your current intent. It has no way of identifying you, right? So if you see an out-of-home sign, or you watch a TV program in the past, that's just been them talking at you, right? But what we're getting to is, the Internet of Things are smarter objects and smarter media. So we can tell, who you are. Omnichannel is one consistent, seamless experience with the consumer, between the brand and the consumer. That's intelligent, the whole way through. In other words, you pick up where you left off. So if you're in a store and you're browsing for K-Cups, coffee, the brand will know that, and they'll send you an offer when you get home via email or another channel for that same thing or something related to it. So it's smart enough to know what you're interested in.
Is it because you scan the product?
No, not necessarily. It's a number of things. It has a lot to do with I could start. I'll make your head explode if I go into too much of this. But a lot of it is data. So a lot more is known about you than you're aware of.
Talked about too much information. Facebook, they will pull information from your friends even, without permission. At
least, at the very minimum, it's that. Yeah. Though Facebook and a lot of other things. If you walk into a store today, they have sensors in store now that pick up the radio signal that comes from your phone, right? So
it will follow you through the store and know what you bought or where you were interested in.
Yeah, potentially, right? If they're smart enough about how they use the technology, and they'll also follow you when you leave, right? And they'll merge that with more data that they know about you. So it's not just in the store; it's beyond the store as well. So that's what's freaking a lot of people out, are the privacy implications.
So how do you feel about that? Is it invasive? Do you feel it's?
I think it depends on how we leverage it, right, and how it's used. I think you have to be responsible, with data and with technology.
Not everyone is.
That's true. But you can only control what you can control, right? So these things are happening whether we like it or not. So I would rather be in a position to be a responsible steward of the technology, and be in a position to drive it and how it's used, rather than to complain at it and point at it as a problem.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, and I know that you sit on the board of a number of startup tech companies, and they're young and they're learning. Yeah. What do you bring to the table?
One is access and an understanding of how agencies operate, right? Because a lot of these kids are, you have to understand, really young, right? So, I'm talking, in Brian Wong's case, he's like 22 years old, right?
Yeah.
So
you start at 19 or something
he's a guy who really understands the dynamics of business better than most 50-year-olds, right? So he's a quick study. So what I bring to the table is an understanding of the operations and culture and cadence within an agency environment, right? So they know how to talk to each other, technologists. They don't necessarily know the vocabulary of brands and advertising agencies, right? And how things are bought, sold, measured, integrated with other plans. And that's what they need help with typically, is how to best position the value of their offering. Typically within an agency environment, like there's one type of person, right? At least at some of the older agencies and bigger agencies, not ours necessarily, but it's good to have a diverse talent pool, right? So some of them are going to be TV buyers, right? So that's what I think I was referring to at the time, right? So those are 50-year-old guys who live in New Jersey and wear free shirts they got from the Golf Channel, right, to work. And then you have guys like Mike who have thousands of followers on Instagram, and they'll send out a photo and 300 people will like it after a minute it's sent. That's the point, is that we should learn from each other, and be open-minded enough to be willing to understand.
Well, say a college student says, well, I want to do what he does.
I would say no. Go to a technology company.
So in marketing, but say that they want it to be a mobile marketer. Yeah. They're going to take the classes that they can. Yeah. They're going to join the organizations that they can.
You would think.
They're going to maybe go for internships a year ahead than they need to apply, stuff like that. But is there anything else that they could do to make it?
Yeah, a ton. It's not about those things at all, really. It's about, find something that you're interested in, find a cause to get passionate about, get creative and think laterally, don't just think about life as a mobile marketer, think about everything else before that, right? So think about what you're into and the people around you and the context of your life and how you can bring all the things that make you happy into your profession, right? Because that's what you're going to be happiest doing, right? So learn the trade, But then what's going to be special about you is your skill, right? And especially your talent, what you're born with, right? So those innate attributes.
The bulk of your career has been digital marketing. How did you come into it?
Just by accident, to be honest with you. It was, I worked for a Japanese company right out of college, and it was a company that was into real-time distribution of polypropylene for a Toyota plant.
Okay.
Not my thing, exactly.
But you can market anything.
Yeah, well that had less to do with marketing, and it was less public facing. It was more an office park in the middle of Indianapolis, doing just-in-time inventory worksheets and like going out to the warehouse to make sure the pallet showed up. So, but I will say that was very valuable. I understand like
everything.
A lot about Japanese culture. Yeah, everything, right? Not the way I wanted to spend my life though. But I still keep in touch with those people, so what happened was after that I moved to New York and I worked for a company called Columbia House, which direct mail company that's now on its way out, like I would say.
Books and records or something?
Yeah, 12 CDs for a penny. You may have remembered that,
yes,
era,
yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
You probably had 10 memberships in your lifetime. But and that taught me a lot about performance marketing, right? Like what works and what doesn't, because you can mail out 10 different envelopes with 10 different creatives on them and find out which one. And in many cases, it's a blank envelope, by the way, right? It's not the blue one with the 5 DVDs on it or whatever. Over time, consumers get conditioned to knowing, okay, that one's in the trash, and the one that looks like a bill, I'm going to open, right? That's why you get that stuff. But then a guy that I was working with went to a wireless company in Stamford, Connecticut, and he wanted to bring me with him, and that was in 2000 or 1999, something like that. And I went there and quickly did what I said, just brought my passion around youth and lifestyle and content to the table, and just made it more about music and video and horoscopes and games, and delivering that over cellular technologies and air interfaces, and that was 13 years ago, right? And we're still sort of talking about the same thing. So.
Right. So that means it's important to have a mentor.
Oh,
you would not have been there if he hadn't said, you should come with me.
Yeah, definitely. No, for sure. And I still keep in touch with him as well.
In 2001,
wow, yeah.
you brought a music live.
So that was before, there was, full track audio on here, and the publishers were still married to, making money from selling things in a store, right? Which is definitely
brick and mortar.
Brick and mortar. There you go. Now it's click or tap and mortar, right? They were looking for ancillary revenue opportunities, right? But they hadn't figured out a business model, so we had to figure out they wanted to get paid every time your phone rang, right? So that didn't happen, but there was a statutory rate. There was a lot to figure out with all the labels and publishers, because they didn't want to change, right?
But no one did that. No one even thought to go in that direction. How did you
there was an industry. I couldn't. I'd like to take all the credit for it, but there was certainly a burgeoning industry at that time. There was a ton of interest in wireless. But it took the iPhone in 2007 to change it all, right? Because the experience was so poor. Yeah, I mean the data transmission was pretty slow. For you to get that, the ringtone was pretty much the only thing you could deliver quickly that was usable. If you were trying to get a horoscope or news via a website or something, you were kind of a poor experience. So it's good. A lot of this is right place, right time, but making sure that you're just in the middle of it, right? And getting outside, meeting people.
So now, today,
yes.
What are your top 3 apps?
Top 3 apps. I'd say Snapseed.
Oh, I love Snapseed.
Do you? Yeah, that's
my
first
favorite
app.
New app.
It's free too, right?
Justin Baylog, a photographer, biker in Colorado, I think.
Oh, should I
follow him?
Okay.
He was the one who I texted him. I tweeted him when he said, "Oh, I love Snapseed."
Yeah.
And he has this wonderful book on iPhoneography.
Oh, great! I've been trying to talk to Mike about iPhoneography.
An ebook on iPhoneography.
There are agencies here in the city that specialize in that, and they're doing very well.
They do well. Jason's had it out for a year or two or whatever, and so I really need to review it. But he was the one who said, "Snapseed, Snapseed, Snapseed."
Yeah.
And
right.
I'm a frugal Asian. I do not like to pay for things.
I'm a frugal Asian as well.
I have 20 apps on my phone.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 of them I paid for.
So let me ask you that question.
Now it's free.
One question. Yeah, that one's free. Why is it that you're resistant to pay for an application, but not for, whatever you have on your person at the moment?
Well, because an app is not timeless.
Okay. So it's a perishable that you're not. Yeah.
And I hate not being able to recycle something I paid for.
Okay, that's fair.
Say that I bought
digital.
Camera Plus.
Yeah.
At Earth Explorer was a person I follow. J.D. Andrews is a globetrotter. He
Your
goes
mom
around.
knows your stuff.
But no, he goes around the world
Yeah.
and he takes pictures and he has sponsors. Well, I don't. My blog is not sponsored. I'm not making any money
Right.
off this. But
You should.
and he tweeted out Camera Plus. I said, got
Camera
it.
Plus?
It's 99 cents today.
Did you?
I got it, and I love Camera Plus until Snapseed came along. So
Right.
now my one I paid for is not as important as the one I got for free. That may
Yeah.
be replaced by something next year.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's
and
true.
Snapseed does so much.
But for $1, for the price of a cup of coffee, you could be happy.
For that time.
Happier. Right. Well, if
That's very
Snapseed was
limited
$1,
now.
you never would have discovered it, though, right?
No, my Twitter friends would have told me more things that were out there.
And the other two, I think, are like I would say maybe Uber and Uber, Uber, which is it's a car service. Essentially, like it's pretty amazing, actually.
Is that in any city you go, you can call
That's
them
right.
and they'll come get you?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
So it'll pinpoint your location and have a car there in 5 minutes. They definitely charge you a premium. There's no doubt about it, but it's amazing that they've managed to aggregate all the drivers and get them into their system and know their availability. And the business model is like what's really fascinating to me, because they don't have drivers, right? They're not really in the car service business at all. You know, they don't even understand the car service business probably, you know, and all the ins and outs of it, but they do understand the value of real-time, you know, service, right?
So you always travel, so...
I used to travel a lot more, yeah, but that one I'm just more impressed and infatuated with than anything.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What's your third one?
Probably LinkedIn. Yeah, just because that one's I'm not so popular on Facebook anymore. But
why do you say that?
Look, I'm not. No one cares. Once you reach 30, I think it's over for you on Facebook.
No, people still listen to everything you say.
You know what it is? Like it's on Facebook. The motivation is always to get something back, right? Like the reason you post on someone's wall is because you want them to post on your wall. That's a fact. That's human behavior, right? That's the motivation. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it, right? If you're doing it for yourself, you would just post on your own page, right?
Okay.
And it's not out of the goodwill of your own heart. Like, don't try to convince me of that.
That's why, but I don't Facebook.
I say happy birthday to people all the time.
That's what and it's about the news feed, right?
Okay,
But with LinkedIn, it's I never look at other people's profiles typically unless I'm looking for a candidate or an interviewee, or I'm going to meet with a new person, and then I'll do a little research like you have. But that one, I think, is just is good for networking and visibility. Because because I think you can. It's more. You can substantiate the information that you find there. Typically, on a lot of sites, I don't think it's possible to know, is this really that person?
Yeah.
So most of it's not.
People. You can give me the trends that you see for 2014.
Wow, 2014. Okay. The Internet of Things. Look, we've connected this and even that in some cases, and this computer to the internet, but we haven't connected everything else, right?
Okay.
We will, and in many cases we have, and you just don't know it yet. That one for sure. So smart objects, so sensors embedded in everyday things, will trend upward next year, but certainly in 5 years, they'll be everywhere. They'll be ubiquitous, right? Because they're getting so cheap. I would say mobile commerce is going to get bigger, right? So you have, especially with Bluetooth Low Energy and sort of what Apple's going to do with iWallet whenever it comes out, and I would say that it's probably going to debut sometime in 2014. So we thought it was going to be NFC, now it's Bluetooth Low Energy because the iPhone has BLE. So that's going to be interesting. And then let me get to a negative one here. How about a conscious effort among technologists to slow everyone down a little bit, right? Because I think that is going to happen. It's already sort of happening, right? Where you see the editor of Wired going off the grid for a month, just to see if he can do it, right?
People untweet to see how their life comes back to normal.
Yeah, that's right. And it's only the people who are so immersed that they don't know which way's up anymore who get concerned. And then when they go away for a minute, they have time to give some substantive thought to real life and real people, that they realize, hey, maybe this isn't such a good thing to be in a virtual world all the time and not aware of each other, right? So I think that'll increasingly become, an issue, for a social issue, even a health issue, in the years ahead, for sure.